take a quick break and see who's actually tuning in. Oh, delay and reverb are good. How's everybody going? I'm just jamming over some backing tracks that I made. Noise Bloom, mate, you have a flawless record of being numero uno each time on these live streams. I'm so impressed. So impressed. How's everybody going? It's Saturday night in the States at the moment. Maybe getting late on the eastern seaboard. It is 11:48 a.m. here in sunny Perth. Oh man, having new strings. We played a show on Rottnest Island last night, which was pretty rad. So I love like a set of fresh strings, but the day after a gig, that's when they feel the best, I think. I mean, even... Two from the last two. Well, mate, it's a streak anyway, so you keep that up, it'll be 3 from 3, and before you know it, I don't know, 50 from 50. Bradley stereo guitar amps. Hey mate, how are you? What do you use for the drum tracks? I've been using Slate SSD5 for ages, but a hot tip I got from my buddy Mike Nielsen, the Get Good drums. They have a really cheap, just kind of like, what do they call it? It's not plug and play, but that's the idea. It's like an easy rock kit, and it just sounds really good. So I think for that song, I used that, and it was like, you know, $20, $30 with a bunch of pre-made grooves, which I thought was a pretty good deal just for something a little bit different. Hey, dude. All right. The Bill Hound Show. Got to do some Signs of Chaos and warm up and get everything. I'm gonna just give me like 5 minutes so that I can acquaint myself with the guitar again. This is a great question. Fan of the Wild. I'm gonna do some Testament once I'm adequately hydrated. But before we... Do you like compound radius necks? I do. I love them. Absolutely love them. I think the next guitar I get has to have a compound radius. The Strat Ultra's got one, which I really, really like. It's considerably easier to play than my old 77, which I've got here finally again. So yeah, I'm super into it. I don't think this has a compound radius, but I played a chillier kind of super Strat style thing a couple of weekends ago at the guitar show that had a compound radius that felt amazing. So yeah, that's definitely on the radar. Anyway, Bill Hound, William Hound. Hang on. That's right, there's a... That. Such a cool line, that. Something like that. That's a little extended thing. Yeah, Skolnick's so great, man. So great. I think the dude's playing like 13s nowadays, just on everything. So ripping that stuff with Testament with the heaviest strings possible is pretty amazing. Oh, man. Water is good. Water is life. And Tony Sig's always speaking of, I owe you a view of the newest video. We'll look forward to it. Yeah, it's so many people were asking about it. It's I think it's an interesting beast, YouTube now, where I feel like, you know, up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it's like you could do a video where you're like, hey, cool, here's my rig, here's my sound, this is what I'm using, and they'd watch another video that you do and you're like, oh, wow, that's a cool sound. Maybe I'll click on this guy's channel and see if he's got a tone breakdown. Oh, he has one of them. They just watch the same video over and over again. Whereas I feel like I have to make that video every 3 or 4 months now, which I don't mind because it's good fun and subtle things do change from time to time. But yeah, that 80s rock rhythm thing, loads of people were asking about that sound. So I was more than happy to go back and do it. And hopefully there's some, you know, interesting tweets in there. Hey, Ollie, how are you, bro? How's life treating you, mate? Now, I see guitar and gaming. Does that mean that you've got a channel up now as well? Which is exciting. Ollie is a monster. Hey, Joe, how are you, mate? And Colin, ooh, this is interesting. The PT, man, I haven't tried, never got the chance to actually play through one of John's amps. Played plenty of Sir guitars, but none of the amps. So, yeah, best Marshall I own. I can believe that. And Dwight Bailey, what is up, Dwight Bailey? I hope you're well, mate. Watching the Australian F1. Good luck, Oscar. Yeah. Man, I remember what was the game on Nintendo 64? It was like an F1 game, like the official F1 game, but I really got into Formula One for about 6 months, which was wild. And anytime I watch it now, I'm like, this is insane. I can't believe people can react that quickly while driving so fast. The Cadaver, Riff Junkies Unite. Oh, yeah. Would you consider Alex as being underrated? It's interesting, right? I mean, yes, but also you need to qualify underrated, where so much of, like anything, the golden age thrash metal it was all happening a long time ago, right? Nearly 40 years ago, all this stuff. So with the benefit of time is this big filter when it comes to stuff. There were so many contemporary players around then who were monsters. And now most people look back and they go, well, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, the end. Maybe if I dive deep, Anthrax and Testament. But, the big four is really now kind of the big three, where, if you like just speed and you like really evil stuff, you listen to Slayer, right? And if you like just sick riffs and vibe, you listen to Metallica, right? And if you like great lead guitar playing, you listen to Megadeth. And that's it. Marty Friedman's the best lead player, and Jeff Lombardo's the best drummer, and Metallica, well, Metallica are just the sickest, So that's it. That's thrash metal. Done. Move on to the next thing. What was hair metal? It was George Lynch and Warren DeMartini. Move on to the next thing. So, yeah, in that regard, I feel like Testament and Alex are underrated, where if you look back at old guitar mags at the time, everyone's raving about Alex. I think in the day he was very rated. And nowadays, I feel like Testament, the flow of time, if you get into thrash, you get into Testament inevitably. So, yeah, Alex, I feel like more people should be talking about him because he's such a phenomenal player and his stuff was so interesting and still continues to be. So, yeah, in that regard, underrated. But then you could say that everyone except Marty Friedman, Hetfield, and Dave Mustaine are underrated, right? Because everybody just goes, yeah, they're the guys. So, Ollie, hello, mate. What is going on? I hope you're having the ultimate Sunday in Perth. The weather's great. You got some time to play some games. You got some time to play some guitar. And, yeah, all right, a lot of people are saying Dimebag as well, yeah. Soon as Cowboys hit, then Dimebag's in the conversation for, the guy, right? And it's interesting, right? Because all Dime's rhythm stuff is sick, because Dime and Vinny played so well together, but then his lead playing is really, really cool as well. So, yeah, sort of like anyone who's not Dimebag, James Hetfield, Marty Friedman, or Dave Mustaine, right, is underrated. But it all just depends on the definition of underrated. Testament is coming here to the Machine Shop in Flint, Michigan. That should be a good show. Testament would be fifth if there was a big five. Yeah, I would say I really think there should be a big seven. Testament would be fifth. Exodus would be six. Exodus, really, really important band. And seven, I would put Annihilator. And Annihilator are that band where they're like the guy on the bench who secretly can do everybody's job better than everybody else, but he's just waiting for something to open up. Man, such a fantastic band. Underrated, I'd say Terrence Howard of Suffocation. Yeah, that kind of stuff. That's stuff where if you're a fan, if your buddy is a fan of that sort of music, you suggest that band and go, man, you got to check these guys out. Not a lot of people know about them, but people who know. I think with Alex, I like I like that he's a technical player, but his stuff always sounds cool rather than just be like a phenomenal, he's playing a million notes an hour and it's so cool, and then there's sort of nothing interesting about it. He's got character. That's what I like. If you listen to, and like people bag on Kirk, but man, he's such an important player. So many people use Kirk as the blasting off point for so many things, and he's working in cool techniques where what is it? It's cool stuff. You learn it and you're like, oh my God, what else is there? And then, you discover Marty. With all the... It's kind of really, really cool. And then someone like Skolnick is, he's verging into slightly different territory. I think what makes all those lead players interesting is actually what they're playing over. And I feel like so much Metallica stuff, Kirk's having to work with just like... So it's basically like a drone in E, whereas a Megadeth song might give you like... So you've got a little bit more harmonic movement, whereas a Testament song might be giving you like... I don't know. So you can get into the... and also just cool phrasing, rather than everything just being a sequence like... Alex is kind of... His solos have some real tension and stuff like that. And yeah, like Kirk solos on Justice, man, are like banging. He's such a great player. And he's become this meme, in old age. It's like, I feel like... I feel like a lot of guitar YouTubers become like gym YouTube, where it's like, if you don't conform to this particular body style or style of playing, that you're crap. And it's like, yeah, that's really taking the fun out of it, where, you listen to a Metallica song, like, I want to hear Kirk play lead guitar. Like, I want to hear him do the thing, I want to hear... Where it's just like a little bit unhinged. It complements all the other stuff that's happening. So, yeah, it's great. I always wanted Marty and Alex to do an album. I think that would be a very cool combo, because their styles would complement one another. A lot of gatekeeping in metal, yeah. I mean, like a lot of stuff, yeah. But particularly, it's funny, right? Where it's such a style predicated on not giving an F, for use of a better term. I know we've got some kids listening, so I'll hold back the French. Like, that's the point. Like, just go and do whatever. Like, be yourself. Like, metal really is about self-expression, right? Rather than like, nah, you don't do this. It's not heavy metal, So, yeah, I feel... So yeah, like, I love Marty's playing. I love Alex's playing for the same reason, where there's so much character. Jeff Waters is another one. Just cool stuff. There's an interview with Jeff where he's talking about writing, where he's like, yeah, like, 9 out of 10 songs I write, or riffs that I write, sound like a Whitesnake song. So I'm sure I could just put an album out that sounded like Whitesnake, but you know, why would you do that when you can listen to Whitesnake? People listen to Annihilator because it's not derivative, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like he writes all these riffs, but he throws most of them out until he gets something really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, I think while we're talking about all of this, like the most underrated metal player from that era is Chris Oliva, because he's got the mix between the high octane technical stuff and the character stuff. He's like the bridge from a Randy Rhoads to an Alex Skolnick, you know, the bridge from like an Iommi to, you know, more of a Marty Friedman style player, you know, and all the tuning stuff, right? Like Hall of Mountain Kings 87 and it's drop C. And all the octaves. Yeah, and this is the unspoken thing. Like, could you play an entire gig of Metallica songs on rhythm guitar? I know I couldn't, and Kirk has to do that every single night. And you know, I think it just, yeah, it overrules the. I have this joke with my mates, like, you know, AFL has started again. And I'll be 37 this year. But for the last 20 years, my mates and I have been saying, like, mate, you know, if we just had one good preseason, we could, like, end up on a list, you know? You just put the work in, you lift the weights, you do the diet right, you just, you know, you go hard. How hard could it be? And then it just undersells the absolute violence that those people have to go through for 2 hours every weekend playing a game. It's like that intensity is not something that I have in my life. For a lot of people, it's like, yeah, they underappreciate. They're like, man, Kirk's going out and playing a 2-hour show every night. And, you know, someone will upload a 15-second clip where he makes a mistake. It's like, that dude's a human being, you know? Going out and doing a show that intense, everyone's going to be making mistakes, you know? It's, yeah, and I feel like, I know for me, when I've been playing a lot, which I've been lucky the last year or so, I've been doing a lot of gigs, you know, your playing just comes up a notch. And it's like, oh, this is always slightly easier. So, yeah. Yeah. The infamous one where Marty's very, very stoned and he's playing with a clean tone the whole time, right? Metal Church. That's a name I haven't heard for a long time. So, there's a deep cut for you. But yeah, Sabotage, my jam in a big way. Am I playing the Soldano in the back right now? No, I'm not. That's not plugged in, but that's a great little head. I really like the Astro. You can see I finally got another Phase 90 as well. So, yeah, man. Just, like, I like... Sabotage had awesome songs, you know? Hall of the Mountain King's fun because it's all, like, very metal stuff, you know? But, like, you know, I don't think there's many other metal bands that would write a song like Tonight He Grins Again. Like, if anyone hasn't heard that, that's something else. That's its own genre. That whole Streets album is like Broadway metal or something. It's so good. But Tonight He Grins Again is a great song. You play that on an acoustic guitar and it would just slay, because the lyrical content and the story and the sort of human emotion in it is so important. And I like that about Chris's playing, where, you know, a lot of his stuff isn't just like stunt guitar. And stunt guitar is awesome. I love it. And I love it in heavy metal as well. It's like part of the thing. But what was I playing before? Like Edge of Thorns. Even his tapping is... he's got that Randy Rhoads element to his playing where you're like, oh, cool, I can hear all the individual elements, but the way he's putting it together is so fun and so nice. That Van Halen footage is crazy. Crazy good, right? I saw I don't know if it's a rumor or whatever, but they're brushing through the archives and trying to find some, like, Alex and Steve Lukather or whatever. It's like, man, Eddie did great stuff when he was alive. Like, Eddie did the greatest stuff when he was alive. Like, just let the dead rest. That's kind of my thing. It'd be really cool to have unreleased stuff, that, like, as a fan, I feel like it would be cool to be able to hear some of the archival stuff, but I don't think it should be touched up. It's like, if it's an unfinished tape, just, if you feel like people would get something out of it, the fans would get something out of it, it's like, release it, but I don't feel like it needs to be finished, unfortunately the guy's passed away, but when he was alive, he did great stuff, enjoyed the stuff that when he was alive, he was like, hey, I want to put this out and I want people to hear it. I feel like as an artist, not releasing stuff that you've come up with is as important as releasing stuff. It's the stuff that you don't release. It's the fish that John West rejects that makes John West the best. It was like, everyone knows Eddie was great, and generations of kids will rediscover that again, and people like myself will go back and listen to it again and be like, oh, this is pretty amazing, how awesome is it? So this is a cool story. I saw Van Halen was in 78, he opened for Journey in Montrose, and 2 months later he opened for Sabbath here. Dude, that is sick. How good were Montrose as well, by the way? And hey, this is the thing. Eddie loved his own playing. That's a lesson for us all. Like, be kind to yourself. I feel like it's like Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? When I started playing, I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was like, oh my God, this guy's like the greatest. What's he up to now? And then I found out about how he passed away, and it was tragic, but that makes what he did when he was alive so much more significant, in my opinion. Why do you like Van Halen? In my opinion, he's so boring. This is a good question. And you don't, everyone can let you know in the comments, right? Just keep in mind that the thing that he did it first. If you've ever listened to Hendrix and gone, I don't get it, loads of people play guitar like this, he did it first. One of my students asked me what the deal with Clapton was. It's like, well, what's so good about Eric Clapton? There's a reason that somebody spray painted Clapton is God graffiti, because before Hendrix, Clapton, he plugged a Les Paul into a Marshall and he turned it all the way up. And when you hear anything like that big fat, he did that. And if without Clapton, you don't have Eddie either, right? So, man, like, he was the archetype, right? So many people followed him. If you don't have to like what he did, I think, to understand that he was important. That's the thing. Not everyone has to love it. That's totally cool, I think going like, no, you have to love Eddie Van Halen. It's like, no, if you don't vibe with it, that's cool. But he was a very, very, very important player. And even if you don't like the specific things that he did, there's a lot to learn from him. And I think the fact that he distinctly wanted to sound like himself, and the things that he did to make him sound like himself, can trigger you to have introspection about how you can sound more like yourself. So, Anyway, there's a question that I love Ed and I grew up during that time, but Randy Rhoads was my guy and Alan Holdsworth. Yeah. So, and Eddie loved Alan Holdsworth as well, right? This lick. The Beat It lick, that's a Holdsworth lick from In the Dead of Night. wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for Alan. Fun stuff. I apologize if the live stream is blurry, by the way. It looks fine on my end, and I am running a wired internet connection. So let me see what I can do about that. It may be that it's just like defaulting to a lower quality for some people. Yeah, I don't know how much I can do about that. I'm gonna watch myself on the live thing. Maybe the bandwidth of the internet is just... Oh yeah, it looks like crud, doesn't it? Apparently this is HD from StreamYard, so not sure what I can do about that. Ugh. Alright, maybe give it a minute and it will... was it better earlier? It was not better earlier. This is garbage. Why does it look so bad? Maybe it'll be better once... even at 1080 blur and safe, but audio is perfect. Yeah, all right. We'll just roll with it, shall we? To paraphrase Mitch Hedberg, how do people know Bigfoot isn't just blurry like that all the time? Yeah, maybe it'll be better. Yeah, man, I pay for StreamYard as well, so I'm a little bit disappointed about this. I have used OBS for a long time. I can see in my window that I look very, very crisp. So maybe by the time it actually goes up. Sad Wings Raging, bro. I can't play Mean Streets, but I wrote this thing. How does it go? It's like an old Hot Licks video. Great, this is what we want. So, alright, here's the most insane lick you've ever heard, and I'm not going to break it down. Blah, blah, blah. What's the, that Gilbert solo that he... Let me just see. What does he do? That's right. Oh, man. Man, yeah, this thing's pretty bright, right? Yes, this is the fractal rig. Yeah, I'm using the 5153 stealth in it, so if I turn my mic off, it's a little vibier in 144p. Oh, that delay's fun, isn't it? I'm upset about this 144p nonsense. So, yeah. Maybe I'm just blurry. Maybe this is what I look like in real life. So, the overlay looks fine. So I think it's your camera settings. All right, let's just dive into this and see camera resolution. I'm gonna just do this. Let's see if 720 streams any better, because apparently it's streaming in 1080, and I've got no issue. It looks fine on my end, basically. So as long as it sounds fine, exactly. So maybe YouTube has been crushing live video all day. Right, interesting. It's definitely not the autofocus, because like I said, I can see totally fine on my end. So it's probably YouTube compression. Yeah, well, someone was just saying that YouTube's been absolutely crushing live streams today. So maybe we can just do it pantyhose of the link. Yeah, I suspect it's actually not a problem on my end. Like I said, it looks great. I'll re-upload the stream in HD. So then you can all re-watch it, and everyone will be complaining about the video quality, and it will be totally fine, right? So yeah, this is the thing which is funny, right? I haven't changed anything on my end. This is my usual webcam setup. My lights looks great on my end, but yeah, let's not talk about anything political in here, please. I know it affects all of our lives, but I don't. It's Sunday here, man. It's Sunday. Let's play some guitar. It's cool, man. It's all that happens is, like, you say the bad man's name, and then a bunch of people jump in and are like, well, the bad man's name isn't that bad. And yeah, it's, I can see cubes. So it's getting worse. This is great. Let's answer some, oh my gosh. The man, Rick Graham. What's up, Rick? That is high praise, mate. Can I just say, if you're on the stream, your 212 lessons kind of changed my life. In particular, that one. I think there was a video you did ages ago, and yeah, I smashed that. That really helped me do some stuff. And also Does everybody subscribe to Rick's channel, by the way? Because you want to see some, like, devastating guitar playing. That's the lick. That's the Rick lick that I still can't play. And also the muted legato thing, which, yeah, everyone should send Rick some love. I cannot do the muted legato thing to save my life, so maybe I won't embarrass myself. But yeah, that. Yeah, oh man, this is the thing. We were talking about, someone mentioned Van Halen before. It's like, even if you don't like Van Halen, there's things you can learn from Van Halen. With Rick, even if you can't even play 10% as good as Rick, there's a lot of things you can learn from Rick to incorporate. So, man, that's so cool. Would love to get you on the pod at some point, Rick, if you're ever down for it, or, you've got an hour or two to spare. So if that's something that interests you at all, it would be really, really cool, and get a bit more background on the story and things like that. So yeah, this is super cool. This is why the internet is awesome. Thank you. The Brett Garsed video was amazing, man. Brett is just amazing. Hey, I have to thank Andrew at Independent Music here, who distributes Fractal, he hooked me up with Brett, and I met Brett at the Melbourne Guitar Show. It was kind of wild because I went to see the Aristocrats that night, and they gave Brett a shout out. They were like, "Oh, and like, we can't believe we're playing here in front of our friend Brett Garsed," So, yeah, I think when you're talking about underrated players, Brett is right at the top of the heap. Not even Brett rates Brett, which is crazy because you're like, dude, what the hell? Yes, I think this is a very, very salient point. I remember a friend of mine sent me a video before I was doing YouTube, and they're like, man, you got to see this. Like, what the actual, like, how do you do this? And it was just a video, like a 30-second clip, I think, of Rick just blasting some legato stuff. And it was like, I was like, oh, I actually don't know how to play legato at all. I thought it was just doing some pull-offs, like, and all the hammer from note. Yeah, it was so cool. So yeah, Rick, we love you, man. And it's nice to see everybody else in here feeling the same as well. Brett Garsed and Guthrie Govan in the same room with guitars, one can dream. Oh yeah. Yes, I feel like a lot of people can listen to Van Halen's rhythm playing and phrasing, and it's just so cool. Yeah, it is on. What was it? A week and a bit ago. It's cool. It's sort of got like it's been consistently getting views where a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork and being like, "Oh my god, it's Brett!" And yeah, I have Brett and Tommy have a mutual friend who I'm friends with, so that was the connection there. So getting Tommy on the channel was just like the best. And he was such a funny guy, such a laid back, one of those things where, especially all the Aussies watching this, right? Like you saw Tommy on the TV all the time in the 90s where he was the guitar. Like it's Angus Young and Mossy and Tommy Emmanuel. Like that's it. That's the Holy Trinity. And yeah, Tommy always struck me as someone who was just like a genuine person. But you never know. Sometimes you speak to people and they're a little more introverted when they're off the stage. But Tommy is just Tommy. He's incredible. And, he was so funny. So funny when we got him on and played, and just generous with his time, and, yeah, an actual legend. So, yeah, amazing. Yeah, so cool. Got to get Vito Bratta. Oh, dude, that'd be a coup. It'd be cool to chat to Vito. I think one thing I didn't realize, I remember reading for ages that Vito got a hand injury and could never play again, and I don't think that's the case. I think he was just like, yeah, I'm good. I've done it. I've had my success. I'm just gonna look after my family and chill out. What do you think of Sammy Hagar? I love Sammy, man. I love Dave in Van Halen. Like, Dave in Van Halen is Van Halen to me, and Sammy with Van Halen is, well, it's Van Hagar, right? It's a different thing. And but Sammy's solo stuff, and there was a thing he did with Neil Schon called HSAS, which is great. I think they put an album out. I don't really know if they toured it, but that album, if you can get it, is like great early 80s hard rock, and Neil's on fire with it. The story about the 10K jacket, that was amazing. I'm so glad we got to that, because I remember as a kid being like, oh my god, it's Tommy Emmanuel on the TV, guitar's cool. Not that I was playing guitar at the time, but I was like, man, this guy's he looks, what's that jacket? Like, I was more interested in the jacket than the playing. So that's kind of cool. Brent Hines leaving Mastodon bummed me out. Yeah, me too. I think I really hope Ben gets a gig, because I mean, from the clips I've seen, he not only did an adequate job, he did an amazing job. And one of those things where, yeah, I'm sure a bunch of people will be like, hang on, let me get my pick that I've dropped. I think a lot of people will probably be, skeptical that, why should they continue when, it's 25 years with the same four guys. And at the same time, if you spent 25, if the other three guys have spent 25 years, not just on the road, they've built a brand. They have, it's their living. Why would you walk away from that? Also, when you can have somebody come in who's just going to be a great vibe, and yeah, I think if he gets the gig, from everything I can see with Ben, it's good energy to have around, and for the next 10, 15 years, You get someone in the band where you can be creative, you can be productive, you can go and have fun. I'm sure after 25 years of slugging it, those guys not only want to go out and, earn a living, they want to have fun and they want to play their music and they want it to be enjoyable. And that's so important. So, yeah, I really hope he gets a gig. And he can sing as well, which is, I saw so many headlines where it's like, oh, Mastodon got a YouTuber to fill in. It's like, yeah, you know what you call somebody who has a guitar YouTube channel? A guitar player, because we're all the same, right? Yeah, like good things happening to good people it's good for the world. I'm not watching the F1 at the moment. I'll probably go and watch maybe some snippets, and then AFL has started again. What? There's a custom shop, Tommy Emmanuel Telly. Yeah, man, Ben plays with Andy Wood. That kind of says it all, right? Andy is... I don't know if you guys have ever had this when you're playing a guitar and you hand the guitar to someone else and then you're just like, you're in the presence of greatness. I did something a couple of years ago in the States for Fractal where Andy came out as well, and Jason Richardson. And Mark Day was there. So this is like, we're playing Mark Day's Les Paul and Mark played it and it was like, man, that sounds incredible. And Mark's like, here, Leon, you play the guitar. I was like, oh, yeah, cool, no worries. And Andy walks in, he's like, hey guys, what's up? And we're like, oh, Andy, you should play the guitar. And he picks it up and he starts playing. He's like, man, this is like, I want to play like Whitesnake licks on it. And then he just played something that like anyone, like just a 3-note per string, like that. But the way he played it was just like, how are you doing that so good? What's the different, like, yeah, just he's so together as a player. I feel like 90% of really good guitar players, you watch them. Like I like this about like John Sykes and Eddie Van Halen. Looks like they could make a mistake at any point, but they don't. So it's like there's this tension in there. But you watch Andy play and you're just like, oh, there's no way this guy can play a bad note. There's no way he can make a mistake. His technique is so together. Yeah, the HSAS album, right? I think the main song, I had a DVD compilation and they had a song called, like the single was called Missing You, and it just goes hard. Really great tune. Neil's on fire on it. And he does that. Like he's got some tapping in there, so yeah, if Mastodon reforms with them, they'll need to call Kookaburra. Yeah, that's great. I would approve. Which speaker do you think pairs best with the JVM Greenbacks or V30s? Why not both? Why not both? So, actually, the Fractal JVM is really good, and I did some A/B stuff with it. Do I still have those blocks in here? I don't. I think it's, you just run the master kind of low on it, and that's the trick. So I might just quickly reset this. I know how to do this. Reset current channel, and I liked the OD1 orange. I think that's kind of my vibe. So it sounds very, very dull at the stock settings, but maybe it was OD2 orange. No, it was OD1 orange. So you turn the master down to like 2. And then you sort of, what's going on with this? One sec. Yeah, low master volume. Bring the level back up. But yeah, you just kind of like turn the gain down because there's so much gain, and crank up the presence, turn the depth down a little bit, and you get a pretty slamming. Like I'm pretty into that. You put a spicy little boost on it or something. I really wish they'd add a DSL model just because I've used the DSL for so long, but yeah, that's pretty sick. What was the other? thing that I tried that I thought was like really, really close. Yeah, there you go. The Lone Star. Totally unrelated, but... So that nice kind of bloomy thing about it, where you can really like... For when you're not playing with an insane amount of gain, which is never for me. Oh, that's right. This is cool. Sorry, I'm just playing the factory preset of my live preset, but it's right next to the Alex Lifeson preset, which is a little bit mind-blowing. Yeah. Okay. Hey, the picture got a little bit better. Okay, great. That is nice to know. And Peter, thanks for signing up as a member, mate. There's a couple of videos I think you can watch early, but yeah, there'll be a few extra ones. My browser Firefox just crashed. I wonder if it's sort of like, what am I doing this in? Brave. Maybe if I used a different browser. What is the year specs of your favorite black PRS? Single cut, that guitar chugs like no other. I concur. I have it. Here. Let's pull it out. Why not? Where is it? Okay, I know where it is. Let me just put this on pause for a second and let me just disappear so that I can find this guitar. Yep. Okay. How do we get this out without knocking out the stuff over? Maybe if I do this. Nope. Okay, that'll do. Right. I've got it in the chainsaw case, which is falling apart, which is a shame. Here it is. Great. So I'm sure if you tried to run off with this thinking it's an 80s Les Paul, you'd be disappointed. Oh man, I don't think I've even played this guitar at this place yet. So let's do that. So this just lives in drop C. The specs are, so it's a 2008 SC245, and the story, which I've told a few times, I bought this in 2014 at Guitar Center North Dallas. So I got this email. We were touring the States, and at this point I had met my wife, so she's from Dallas, and I went out a little early before the tour so we could spend some time there, and I got an email like, hey, Guitar Center is clearing all their pre-2013 stock for PRS. Big discounts. And the Australian dollar was almost at parity at the time. So I was like, oh, I need to go check some stuff out. They had all these fancy like McCartys and SC245s. And I kind of played every guitar in there. And I was like, nah, it's... I emailed the head of the guitar department there beforehand. I was like, hey, can you send me some pictures of what you got? Because I'm going to come in and I probably want to buy something. So he sent this photo and, you know, all these wonderful 10 tops and stuff like that. And I was like, cool, there'll probably be one of those. That'll be the one. And I played them all and none of them really did it for me. And I was about to leave. And as I like turned around, I saw this guitar like hanging up on the wall. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like a black single cut. I'll pull it down. And I pulled it down and I went, unplugged. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm going to buy this guitar. And the rep looked at me, he's like, do you want to like plug it in first? I was like, no, man, that's it. It sounded so good unplugged. And then I plugged it in and... This guitar is just kind of me. If you've heard any Ragdoll, you've heard this guitar recorded. So I feel like it's the first guitar I bought where I actually sat down and went, no, what sounds like me, rather than like, oh, that's a cool guitar, I'll just buy that. Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. Always the controls aren't like a Les Paul though, which always kind of gets me. So specs. So it's got the bound flame maple on there. These are the SC245 pickups. They're totally stock. I've never even taken the pickups off to look at what's in there, but they're not 5708s. I know that much. Still has the original frets, original bridge. The only thing I have changed on this guitar is I put Godot locking SD90s on it, like as soon as I got it. Just to make restringing a little bit easier. So there you go. Probably can't see it because we got potato quality stream happening. So yeah, it's I just got really lucky with this guitar where it works for what I do and it kind of looks cool too. This is a good question. String gauge, if you tune it that low, 10 to 52. That's it. I think there's elixirs still on this guitar. I've been using the Stringjoy 10 to 52 set, which is, I think, super nerdy. So the elixirs are 10, 13, 17, 30, 42, 52. And the Stringjoys are 10, 13 and a half, 17, 28, 40, 52. So it's like a slightly different balance tension thing. So yeah, that's it. That's the guitar. It's going on 1 a.m. Where am I? What time is it there? Hey, I'm sure it beats doom scrolling Instagram slightly. Mate, Sean, mate, any chance of 5 killer riffs for Judas Priest? I have a list of like 5 killer riff series I want to do, and Judas Priest is right at the top. So let's make that the next one that I do. Let's just do that. Stole and replace it with an exact duplicate. You're not afraid to use a different tone. That's cool. Like I'm glad that comes across. A very good example was this is like the Ragdoll sound, right? Because it sort of needs to sound. The thing is, it sort of needs to sound like an angry modded Marshall, but it sort of needs to sound like a rectifier as well, because they're the things that I've used a lot. So that FAS Stealth Blue kind of does that, even though it's a 5150 derivative. It's like, yeah, it does that. Sounds good with this guitar. The show that we did yesterday, it was outdoors. So rather than do that, I used the Brit 800 mod, which with this guitar, I don't know, playing outdoors, I feel like all the low end gets lost anyway, so you don't really need to dial it in, like what's the point? But you do need those big thracky mids. So that's what that guitar sounds like with it, but this guitar, which I played, sort of has a different mid-range voice, right? It's not as bright, which kind of works well when it's loud. It's like almost, because it's hollow, it's got a bit more Malcolm Young about it, which is really, really cool for that sort of thing. It's like a little more. Okay, if I was going to describe it, the normal ragdoll thing with the FAS Stealth Blue is a bit more John Sykes. Whereas the Brit 800 mod's a little bit more Gary Moore. It's a cool, like, just, yeah, trad Marshall kind of thing. So, well tattered. Oh, mate, Scott, I knew you were a man of culture. After Peter Burge left, they did, what's the album called? They have a song called Heavy Revolution, which is one of my favorite. Man, did someone just write Icon in here? Mate, what a band. What a song. Yeah, I like Tony Burge the most as well. Far out, your Budgie, underrated. That's an underrated band. People who know the adult contemporary guitar. Yeah, exactly. You know, everyone wants to hear this on this guitar. Or, how does it go? Actually, so Ryan and I do a bunch of duo stuff, but so that smooth operator riff. But then you play the melody from Chris Rea at the beach. So that, but then you sing, how does it go? Do It Again by Steely Dan. So that's a really stupid little adult contemporary medley that we do. Yeah, Budgie rules, man. Me just ignoring me. Raise the hammer. Oh, here we go. How about 80s Icons? Sorry, Nick, I missed your message. Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, very, I mean, underrated isn't the term. Let's just say, you know, it's the best way to talk about bands like this. You know, they're kind of, not deep dives, I don't know. They're for connoisseurs, right? If you're a connoisseur of that type of music, you know who they are, and you get into it. Scott, Electric Eye, Dissident Aggressor is a great yell. Freewheel Burning is great too. Yeah, good call on these. Island of Domination, Priest. Yeah, man. I saw Ripper Owens a couple of weeks ago. Two of my mates were playing guitar for him, so he was using an Australian band, and they just did like best of Priest and Dio basically, and it was so good. That guy is so, like, you know, we were talking about Andy Wood before, which is just like makes it look effortless. Ripper is the singing equivalent. What's your mate Troy's full name? Troy Nababan. So Troy's engineered a lot of stuff. He's done all the ragdoll stuff, so you've definitely heard his work before. Riot, yeah, this is good. We should just make a playlist for this live stream where it's like all the cool underrated bands. Hey, Stooky person, I hope you're stooky. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful Perth weather as well. So good. Someone, I think, summed up my life. Budgie Parents, yes, that is the song. That is the song. Peter, yeah, mate, you know my soul, Peter, where they're the things that I like. Oh yeah, Thai rules. I like Sade as well, Sade. There's a live concert from the early 90s, which is so good. Her band is so amazing. Scott, I'm very happy that that actually arrived. So, and I'm glad the pics made it. And they glow in the dark. They're like my favorite little thing ever. So, big rec, man. Thornley is in that like Cots and Sykes tier of can do it all, right? So good. I'm going to play you guys a ragdoll song called Follow the Leader because, yeah, the Sade DVD, that's the one. That's the one. That is so good. I'll play you guys a song called Follow the Leader because we're talking about King's X and all the good stuff. So this is our not so subtle tip of the hat to King's X with like my favorite. Someone's mentioned Max Webster. Yeah, now we're into it. This. This table style thing that I'd been sitting on for like a million years, and I was like, oh my god, I can finally use it in this song. Alright. We're almost in tune. I don't remember how to play the solo in this song. Yeah, man, Judas Priest rule. If you don't like Judas Priest, what are you doing with your life? It's suboptimal. Let me find Follow the Leader and I'll play it for you guys. So, not the Korn's album. It was just a track that we came up with and we were like, oh, it needs a name. Yeah, call it this. Let's do this. No, not what I want. That's a... that is a... Here we go. Let's play this. We're about to play a Pink Floyd backing track, so... that was fun to try and remember that in real time. We haven't played that one live for a while. Kim Thaylish sounding that chorusy part. Yeah, that's totally the Ty Tabor thing, right? I always forget. Yeah. Hitting the string a bit too hard in this tuning. Man, I had this guitar set up perfectly, and like as the weather changes here, especially in between seasons, it's just like, nah, I don't want to cooperate. There it is. So the what's the streaming audio setup? Are the other band members around much? Not on the internet. They both kind of live their lives. I'm the token, person all over the internet. It was funny, last night we were coming back. So we played on Rottnest Island. When you need to take the ferry over, it's about a 30-minute ferry. So you put all your gear. And we don't have a lot of gear, especially playing modelers, right? Put it on a crate and it goes on the ferry over, and the guy who does all the entertainment for the hotel over there, on the way back we were just kind of chatting, and I was saying something about, I was showing him my little camera that I'm using to do this stream. So I've got a DJI Osmo 3, I think, that I'm using for this, and yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, I'll put up like a little vlog or something like that for the gig, next week. And he's like, oh, do you, where are you going to put it? Like YouTube or something? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, do you have a YouTube channel? And the other guys just kind of laugh. They're like, yeah, that's the thing. So it's like the Club Cabaret thing. People are like, oh, it's so awesome. I'm like, no, I spend a lot of time around very talented people. I'm so lucky for that. So it's funny that, we spent a long time. We've toured the States 5 times. We've done a bunch of stuff, but it's not until like I started doing guitar YouTube that I feel like, we found the right audience for the music, which is kind of cool. I love it. So I do a lot of the, it's like the Dave Mustaine syndrome when he was in Metallica. Like I introduce a lot of the songs because Ryan has to play bass and sing, and that 30 seconds of talking, oh, this song's about, what's the deal with eating raw cookie dough? You do it and sometimes you're fine and other times you get salmonella. Who knew? Anyway, here's a song about that. He can have a drink and he can sort of reset and not scream for 30 seconds. So Kim Mitchell, dude, Might As Well Go for a Soda is one of our favorite songs with the band. That is sick. So glad this has come up. Some really great Canadian music people have been mentioning in here. No one has mentioned Saga yet. I'm sure they'll come up. Did you tour in Florida? No. We went through a lot of the like Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, New Mexico, Vegas, California, that whole thing. And Annihilator, yeah. Jeff Waters, I don't know if he still does it, but he was running a thing which was like a not-for-profit, basically a legal advice thing for young bands so they didn't sign crap contracts. You could just go to the company he was doing and say, like, hey, we got offered this contract from a label. Can you look over it and see if there's any clauses in there which will kind of pull you up on it? So, even more respect for Jeff, not just being a great musician and doing stuff like that to help the community is kind of great. He still does it. That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to get Jeff on the podcast. I just find him such an interesting dude where, like, if you ever heard him play AC/DC, he absolutely nails it. He talks about warming up. And he's just like, yeah, just play some AC/DC riffs. So Tea Party are up there with Rush for like my favorite Canadian band. What's that one of 7? And obviously all the... You don't need a Floyd Rose to do dive bombs, kids. You just gotta be in a drop tuning and do pre-bands. Forget about the Jeff Beck thing. Man, this is fun. Do you do the behind the nut string pull thing? No, but I've been trying to teach myself how to do it. I saw a Sykes thing where he does it, right? I'm like too scared of stabbing the end of my finger with that one, like doing a... I like this guitar on the G. It's like you get a perfect... I like the other... Push vertical with your thumb. Oh yeah. Hey Scott, thank you dude. I never connected that. I gotta remember when you change strings to change here, yeah. Ah, here we go. Man, all that stuff Randy did was so cool. Like, that's a very underrated part of his playing, especially the tribute album, all the cool squawks and squeals and like, you know, the space echo in there, and I love that album so much. So much. Raw dogging it, basically. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Scott Brockway just taught me how to do something I wanted to know for like 20 years, so I love you, Scott. And you get more range side to side. I like... Mate, that is... Of course that's how you do it. I still remember I had a skateboarding video, and there's this dude ripping a half pipe, and you just hear, da 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 da, thank you, we love you all, let's go crazy. Yeah, the live tone is I actually had Tribute before I had the first two albums for a long time, and I actually laughed the first time I I heard the. So, you know, like, they don't play as much Aussie on the radio here. You'd be lucky to hear Crazy Train on the radio. And I had Tribute, like, my dad owned it. And I was like, oh, Dad, do you have any Ozzy Osbourne? Because, you know, he was in Black Sabbath and I like Black Sabbath. And he was like, oh, yeah, here, listen to this, like, Tribute. And I was like, man, this is good. This is really good. And then when I finally heard the studio version of Crazy Train, I laughed. I thought it was so... I was like, well, what's this? This isn't what they do live. Like, the Tribute version live, it crushes. So good. And yeah, like, the intro is just like... I can appreciate now that if that's the first time you heard it, that you'd just be like, oh my God, this is incredible. But yeah, if you start with Tribute, it's a little bit hard to go back, you know? It's like, oh, that's what Randy sounded like. Great. And yeah, he's just like, he's special. I still feel that, like, there's certain things where it's like, you're just like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Never hear the version of Shot in the Dark from the live Just Say Aussie EP. That tune was amazing. War Pigs, on the other hand. Yeah. I really like my favorite Sabbath song that they did with Randy is, you know, probably in the original. What is it? Children of the Grave, like... Oh, man. Yeah, that's tragic. I remember, I mean, that was before my time, but I remember coming home from school one day when Dime died, and, well, when Dime was murdered. Let's tell it like it is. He was murdered. And just hearing it was a really strange thing where I wasn't super, like, I knew who Pantera was. I obviously knew who Dime was because, you know, that was the time. And on the news, they were just like, oh, a guitar player has been, like, multiple people have been murdered at a heavy metal show in America, and, like, a band member's died. And they, you know, it wasn't, no one knew that it was Dime. And I was like, oh man, I hope that's not Dimebag. Like, I don't know why I just connected those things. And yeah, then when I heard about it, I was like, I can't believe it, you know? That I remember really distinctly, like coming home from school and hearing that on the news and being like, oh man, better not be Dimebag. But then the next day when they confirmed it, yeah, that was like, yeah, a lot, an absolute lot. Jake is just like, I don't know. They're like Pokemon. Like, I think of, if you're too old for this crap, like, it's fine. But there's this trope in Pokemon where you have like 3 evolutions of the same thing, and the second one's always like the coolest one, like the lean, strong one, and that's like Jake to me. And then the final one is like the super high-powered, like, you know, crazy strong, and that's like Zach. Zach's like Charizard, and Jake's like Charmeleon, and Randy's like Charmander, but they're all awesome fire Pokemon. So, yeah, dude, oh man, that just would have been Dio singing with Randy Oliver, but that'd be a pretty sick band, right? I mean, just Jake's like, you know, there's stuff Randy does where it, like, Randy's the last 70s guitar player to me. And Jake's like the first 80s guitar player to me, because everything Randy's doing is like so rooted in, you know, obviously Sabbath, but like Purple and Rainbow and Van Halen, and like there's all those influences in there. And then Jake is doing, like, you know, I mean, just... Wow. Whereas, you know, if I think of a typical Randy thing, like, you know, a lot more of these dyads. Jake, a lot more of these. But then Badlands, right? I'm in the wrong tuning for this. I'm just going to play it higher. Yeah, I liked Jake's just like plugged straight into a Marshall Raw Dog tone on there. Yeah, imagine being a replacement for Randy. That's mental. So much the just normal ninja dude. Yeah, well, I mean, he's always found that interesting about him with the martial arts stuff. And I mean, he got shot recently, right? And hopefully he's recovering. So I'd love to imagine what Randy would have done had he lived. Yeah, so good. What's your opinion on the Steel Panther 1987 pedal? I haven't really tried it. I mean, I've seen them live a bunch of times. They're such a great band. Yeah, it's I'm sure it's good. Who actually makes them? I'm not across that. Stiff guitar, no whammy. Yeah, I like Jake's thumb thing as well that he'd do. Like, you know, like you want to play something in D with it. That whole. Oh man, I cannot do it. Yeah, but you could do this. Just mental. Oh, great. He's doing the Aussie Last Show thing. That's cool. That's very, very cool. I'm kind of nice to hear about it. The neck profile on the Chilia. Okay, let's see. It's nothing like that, and it's nothing like that. It is, I don't know how you would describe it. I just need to start measuring stuff, right? It's kind of, what does this remind me of? I think I'll have to check the spec sheet on there before I'm just like, oh, it's a super thin or a super fat. It's very comfortable, but I would probably compare it closest to, you know, when you play a super strat that has a fat neck for a super strat, it's kind of like that. So it's not a fat Les Paul style neck like a 58. But yeah, it sort of slims out a little bit as well. So the shoulders are, man, I like honestly can't do this justice. It's very comfy. I will try and get some specs for you, Nick. Slade were absolutely gigantic in Australia. My dad always says that. So like one of his favorite bands is Status Quo, but the first rock band he really got into was Slade, and he went to see Slade in like, I don't know, 72 or something like that as a kid. So it would have been 14 or 15. And it was Slade and Status Quo, and Slade played. Everyone loved it. And he was like, yeah, great. I'd seen Slade. I turned around to leave, and I hear this like, yeah, hey, how you going? You all having a good time, right? And Status Quo came out and did their thing, and he was like, oh my God, I love this even more. So yeah, man, Slade is a super underrated band. Like Noddy Holers basically like grew up right near Robert Plant as well. And like when you know that, they look similar, they kind of sound similar as well. So that's I find that interesting with Quiet Riot as well, that they were into those British glam bands so much. Like that, it's almost like the British blues thing where, you know, you had these kids growing up in England listening to American blues, and they did their own thing with it. But then a bunch of American kids heard the English blues guys, and they did their own thing with it. And that's kind of where you get like hard rock from. With Quiet Riot and those kind of bands, they were listening to all the British glam bands and doing their own version, and that's where you kind of get hair metal, sort of, coming out of that. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. There you go. I would agree. That's kind of like whereas the American bands that listen to the American glam bands, that's where you got like post-punk in America from, right? Set Me Free from Sweden's the first thrash metal song. Swear, yeah, man. It's probably a toss-up, but what year was that? Because I always think of, it's not really a thrash metal song, but I always think Light in the Black. whatever Blackmore does. Yeah, Blackmore kind of did it first a lot of the time. But yeah, that's man, I haven't heard that song. What's the other one? It's much later. Fast as a Shark by Accept is also like very, very proto. Like just before you have actual thrash, it's like, oh, there's the template. That's how it's happening. All right, it's like 1:15 here. I might head, everyone. I'm gonna go and listen to a bunch of this stuff. Thank you for the excellent hang. Overkill. I mean, if you had the big 7, Overkill would be like 8th or 9th, right? When we're talking about thrash. So 1974. Well, there you go. You might be right there, Scott, because I think Light in the Black was 76. So it's got a good 2 years on it. Oh man, I've got to go and listen to some of this stuff. Look at this. I probably can't see it anyway, but yeah, my callus has just absolutely split on here. So I'm in for a world of discomfort for the next 2 days. That's what, 3 hours of playing followed by a 90-minute live stream doing stupid bends. Sorry, Blossy, D2, yes, still have it. Very cool delay. Have you got one? I imagine you'd be cooking up some pretty wild mod stuff on it because it's a very, very capable unit. I really, really like the D2. I wanted one for years and years. Oh, cool. All right. You got to write to me when you figured some stuff out with it. The rhythm tap stuff is really cool in it. And scaling that for modulation is pretty fun. So, all right. With that, everybody go and enjoy your evening or your day wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. I'll try to do one at some point in the next week. So, take it easy, dudes.